out of the sewer, literal vampire pot-bellied goblins are hobbling around coming after us.
Conspiracy theories are like fan fiction. Hold on, I didn't say they were bad fan fiction.
3, 2, 1.
My gosh. Where are we right now? Minnesota Bigfoot research team.
Why we believe that the Earth is a fixed stationary plane.
Everything that I've heard of Q, I hope that this is real.
Conspiracy theories can serve to remind us that magic still exists. And we want to hold on to the magic that possibly, somehow, some way, it's true. That the world is run by blood-drinking, Satan-worshipping pedophiles who are starting the New World Order from underneath the Denver airport. Think about it. Conspiracy theories slot into our world more comfortably than 50 Shades of Grey does Twilight. And who doesn't want to entertain that idea? If you were to hang me upside down by my nipples in a CIA black site while asking in a gravelly tone, "What is a conspiracy theory?" I'd probably describe it like this. Their creative thinking gone awry. They've lost their self-awareness in the fun. So what is it that makes conspiracy theories so exciting? And what should be cause for concern? But don't take my word for it. I work for the New World Order doing research to further the agenda of a few trillionaires. I take my orders from Denver, hence the secret location. Jokes aside, during my dive into this topic, I came across Claire Burchell's book, Knowledge Goes Pop, which suggests a conspiracy theory is a narrative that has been constructed in an attempt to explain an event or series of events to be the result of a group of people working in secret to a nefarious end. Like the Illuminati, a secret society that's calling the shots and only wants more power by whatever means at our expense. Another important distinction she makes is the term pop knowledge. This places conspiracy theories next to gossip magazines and other knowledge that moves quickly between people. It's still a bit judgy, maybe, but I also think it gets at the real root of the situation with conspiracies as a common piece of knowledge that is popular. She goes on to say that conspiracy theories work in a contradictory fashion. They are politically engaged, but also ineffectual. They're ironic and genuine. They move back and forth between the figurative and the literal. Are you serious? Okay. Take Osama bin Laden. There are some that think he died before the SEAL team raid, but also that he's still alive. And how can we know? We have to trust some talking head, whether a media or political personality, and hope that they're telling us the truth.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
The world is so vast, complicated, and interrelated that there's no way a politician would tell us the God's honest truth about what they've done. So then, we can say also that, at its core, conspiracy theories stem from a deep-seated distrust of authority, governments, or institutions like corporations, universities, or the church. Of course, those smarty pantses have an agenda and want to keep their secrets from prying eyes. And this is where the fun comes in. Does my hand look dumb? I know what you're thinking, but hear me out. The main draw of conspiracy theories is that they're awesome. On the surface, they're fun and interesting ways of interpreting the world. I mean, come on, we've all made jokes about politicians being lizard people. But let's remember pop knowledge. This tells us it is knowledge held by many. It's popular. And why is it popular? Again, I would say it's because they're fun. For the same reason that we like Marvel movies, or why it's always nice to hear a Drake song, if that even is his real name. They're incredibly fun to indulge in and require a level of creative thinking that's in line with writing, say, a script. You start with big ideas that you want to capture and then dig your way down to find how all these things work in tandem. Kurt Vonnegut has a great talk about the use of paranoia in writing, that one should have their corkboard with red strings tying disparate concepts or characters together into a huge web. It mirrors the complexity of our world, but the person creating or researching the conspiracy gets to have all the control in that moment over how they see the world and potentially over others. Vonnegut says, in regards to finding meaning, nothing means anything, except the artist makes his living by pretending. Now, maybe conspiracy theorists wouldn't be too happy about being compared to artists, but it seems to me that they use their paranoia for the same means. What I'm getting at is that conspiracists tend to be self-congratulating for not following the normal news like sheep.
I read a lot of history books when I was a kid, and I also had family that was educated. So, I mean, I just knew how things actually worked versus what the news was saying sometimes.
When talking in non-fictional terms, nothing meaning anything will lead us to a point where we don't have any common ground.
You could clearly see the curvature of the Earth.
What's the shape of the
from
windows?
Actually,
Oh,
science.
it was the shape of the window.
No, I didn't say that.
Of course, control is what we're seeking, especially now, it would seem. And maybe you also have this feeling that we're in a completely unique time period. Maybe we are. But how can we say? We didn't live through the Spanish flu or have to deal with polio. But we are getting through... We're getting through it. The point being, this isn't the first time we felt the apocalypse breathing down our necks. Not even in our lifetimes. The whole world is too complicated and it feels like we are moving swiftly and directly toward ruin. But imagine how hard it must have been to hope for the future in 1917 or in 1944, let alone in 1347 with the bubonic plague. I mean, wouldn't it just be easier to write our own theories of how the world is run, why they let these diseases out of labs, who's who, and what other secrets they're keeping from us? Well, you can't have any fun without some consequences, right? At least, I like to think, if there aren't any consequences, it wasn't actually fun.
Do you know what you're doing there? You're laying 5G. Do you know that kills people? You know when they turn this on, it's going to kill everyone.
We've seen some pretty serious consequences in the past couple of years, so we should remain concerned. Obviously, we had the 5G outrage, and some workers were harmed along with the towers themselves being destroyed. And let's not forget the storming of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where Donald Trump drummed up some fervor that allowed the QAnon pot to boil over. Now let's leave levity alone for a bit, and think about the consequences of both conspiracies and the way we think of them. In the 1970s, the term cultic milieu was coined to describe a supportive social and ideological environment. Kind of broad, but that's the basis for a cult. This was then transposed to conspiracy theories and combined with the idea of rejected knowledge, usually of the occult, or ideas condemned by the church. Think Spanish Inquisition. But now, instead of the church, this knowledge is condemned by science.
So the 5G story is complete and utter rubbish. It's nonsense. It's the worst kind of fake news.
Nonetheless, we can understand cultic milieu as the method by which ideas are cultivated and reinforced, and the content therein is the delicious forbidden knowledge. These concepts show how easily anyone can be sucked into this whirlpool. So then, let's consider the effect it can have on a person. Not to sound like an armchair psychologist, but let's talk about cognitive dissonance. It's a strong feeling of discomfort resulting from the holding of two contradictory beliefs. Or, to quote Leon Festinger, if a person knows various things that are not psychologically consistent with one another, he will, in a variety of ways, try to make them more consistent. This can lead to changes in behavior, such as minimizing negative aspects of their beliefs or completely changing their thoughts in order to minimize that discomfort. Think of the rapture, when all of us sinners were supposed to be smoked so the saints could rise to heaven. When that didn't happen, or at least I don't think it did, those who believed very strongly in it had many rationalizations as to why.
The simple truth is that no one can call the time of day when Jesus is coming again, because he is coming according to the Bible.
Or take smoking, a favorite example. We all know that smoking is a significant cause of cancer. Yet we do all sorts of mental gymnastics to rationalize it, which maybe leads to smoking even more. Cognitive dissonance is what makes it so difficult to level the playing field. It can cause people to be more argumentative or combative. But fear not, there's a way to deal with that. If you've tried to convince someone to stop believing in conspiracy theories, you know it's not that easy to get them out of their entrenched positions. The BBC published a nice little article giving some suggestions of how to react if someone you're close to brings up some uncomfortable conspiracies. They say to keep calm, don't be dismissive, encourage critical thinking, ask questions, and don't expect immediate results. The issue is that critical thinking can sometimes be one-sided. Some may get a feeling of empowerment and cleverness when thinking, much of our lives are being controlled by plots hatched in secret places, or much of the information we receive is wrong. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm tempted to agree on some level with these points. Questioning sources like the mainstream media is always effective.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson.
But we should extend that same courtesy as much, if not more so, to people who are trying to sell us an answer to everything. But we would also do well to remember to act with compassion and encourage critical thinking to be directed as much at the conspiracists on YouTube and elsewhere as at the mainstream media.
And we try to be honest about it on the show.
Sometimes the things we find fun get too serious. Playing with a match can lead to a raging inferno. And it's easy for something as fun and creative as conspiracy theories to get tangled up with the fate of the world. But the truth is often much messier. It twists and turns, and where we might see a coincidence, through the lens of conspiracy, one might see a perfectly orchestrated plot. But they're very fragile, as they aren't based on fact, rather distrustful hunches. And those who believe are not swayed by force. Instead, we shouldn't call people caught in the web stupid or crazy, but meet them with compassion, and understand that it's easy to get hooked. Conspiracy theories can be just as predatory as a cult by selling answers to questions of uncertainty. We should recognize that conspiracies arise from that uncertainty and a deep distrust of any authoritative bodies. And, well, they're really, really good fan fiction. Thanks for watching. As always, the research that I did is down in the description. And, oh, they found us. Please give us some feedback in the comments and like and subscribe.